limitations, but most things you can imagine you can print. And which goes to the next point. I've already said electronics are modular. I can buy a sensor for temperature for $2, a sensor for, lumosity for $1.50, for moisture for $5. All of a sudden, Arduino is a programmable controller. All of a sudden, I can buy 5 sensors.
Arduino, there's a TED Talk on that, remember?
It's a brilliant TED Talk.
Yeah.
Soon loud.
But the point is, you can visualize a product that does something. Let's say...
So it's user-friendly. Anyone could have it in their home.
I mean, I'll give you some... I'll give you 3, 4, 5 instant applications. Okay, your blinds over there. To pull them down, you just need to yank a cord. A cord. Okay, to yank a cord, you need something called a servo, which is nothing but an electric motor and a gearbox. And you can have a light sensor in your windows, and when it's really bright, you can pull down your blinds with this thing. This device would cost you $25. Now, if you mess around with some programming, that'd be the cost of the parts. Of course, you probably spent 15 hours designing it, but you could have something that closes all the blinds in your house when it's sunny.
Mm-hmm.
That
right.
Turns on your air conditioner with a time of the day in mind, not just the thermostat.
So a lot of the point is that there is amazing technology out there to be enjoyed, and open source technology is a way which everyday people can have it in their homes, and it's affordable. And
it just allows, like I said, the average, once technology becomes predominantly open source, anybody opening it up trying to mess with it, you'll have millions of people learning these skills without any formal training, and I think it's brilliant. Frankly, I did robotics and computer vision. It's called mechatronic systems at uni, blah, 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 really sophisticated engineering. But sometimes I do feel, in a sense, that there's a con with, say, engineering degrees.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. I've done the crazy level maths, just mind-bending stuff. And I thought often, frankly, 90% of people that try to do this degree would have no chance of completing it. But it's completely artificial, because 90% of people have the ability to build stuff. And this notion that I got to do these, 5x5 matrices that transpose in 4-dimensional space, that doesn't... you can build a car without knowing anything. You can build a fucking rocket that goes to space without understanding this type of calculus. So you take this esoteric maths and you artificially, reduce the number of people in society that can design stuff. You kind of make it this elite, and they're all employed by corporations. And the example I gave of the best 3D printer being built by a dude who works in Woolworths and another guy who's a camera technician, they built something better than what was designed by 5 engineers from MIT. The point is, this visualization of a mechanically working device in your own mind is something that most people, maybe not everybody, but maybe half the people around possess. And we're limiting those people by saying, no, you can't build anything because, see, you haven't done methods or specialist maths, and you can't do this complex calculus. So, go and stack some shelves.
I know. That's true. Yeah, exactly.
I think I'm qualified to say this because I've done that in maths, and it hasn't helped in any of my freaking engineering work, so I don't see the reason for it.
Yeah, definitely. Is that why you were attracted to something like Zeitgeist? Like, was that why you were attracted to the possibility of a different... Because the way I see it is that if the system was set up differently, the economic system was set up differently and allowed more people to interact, because of education level, because of too much inequality in the system at the moment. So, all these people left behind when they could really be helping out or, doing some amazing stuff. Is that what attracted you a bit to it?
Initially it was just... I watched it, and I don't know, I was very, I was the type of guy that watched BBC. That was sort of my diet on worldview perspective.
Oh, there, yeah.
And, this kind of left-leaning intellectual, and oh my god, you're crazy, you know. I was looking at those buildings and going like, well, look, you know, things fail in real life, you know. Buildings failed. Sometimes, you know, sometimes you have a car running a shaft and the shaft breaks and you can't explain it. So what if you can't explain how the buildings went down? You know, what are you on about? They had to make something up. I was looking at that, you know, seeing all the evidence, just making up making up these rationalizations, you know. And people were telling me, yeah, the Queen runs things, and so does Zeitgeist, and it was all about the money thing. And I was like, man, here's something I can actually disprove.
Yeah.
You know, here's something that I can work with. And, you know, at that point in time, I understood money is a con. And I was always attracted to the idea that, you know, most of our problems are technical.
Sure, I mean,
Yeah.
The issue that really kind of inflames me, and maybe you can, like, cut this part of your podcast. No, and post it on its own because something, you know, that I have the strongest opinion on. It's a rant. It's like global warming, you know. I mean, like you know, firstly, are there people that doctor data that have made it look like hotter than it is and blah blah blah? Absolutely, but you know, hundreds of scientists around the world meet up every couple of years and they have a consensus, and okay, fine, the Earth is warming, even if it's not. Let's just take that as a precautionary thing and see what we can do about it. Now, firstly, the problem with this whole global warming thing is that nobody's going to pass the discussion, no, it's warming, no, it's not, no, it's a con, yes, so the world's going to blow up. The people that have jumped on this bandwagon, see, the people that believe the Earth is warming, they believe we need to do something about it.
Yeah.
Now, what they've been suggested, well, now you have literally, you know, hippies, activists, people that go and hug trees going, we need to put a price on carbon. And you know whose idea that is? Goldman fucking Sachs and Rothschild Bank. You have tree-hugging hippies going, we need to help Goldman Sachs and Rothschild Bank. I mean, Al Gore is a multi-billionaire. You know, the carbon tax, the reinvestment from actual what we pay in tax into technology is at best 25%. This comes from beyond zero emissions. I went to a talk of theirs, and so you have this problem that might just end the world, and the solution to that is just give money to bankers. And you know, life is going to be more expensive because carbon has a price, but we all just got to give money to these carbon traders who are going to create like fucking derivatives of carbon. And
it's just a technical issue.
It's a technical issue. Why? What do you need? Okay, you need solar panels, which are economically more viable than coal power plants. You know, even you could buy them for the amount of money that these carbon traders would profit in 1 year and close every power plant in Australia. But wait a second, you got all these patents sitting on a shelf of hundreds of companies, and wait, if the world is coming to an end, you know, if we're about to boil our grandchildren, maybe, just maybe, guaranteeing the profit margins of corporations that own solar panels and batteries is not so important. But nobody mentions technology, patents, battery, photovoltaics. It's just like, oh, it's really warming. It's hotter than ever. The Arctic is melting. You know, like Al Gore is a multi-billionaire. The guy had maybe $1 million. And what? How did he do this? He is the guy who positioned himself to own stock in every carbon trading company.
Of course, he must have.
Oh, really? Is that what he did?
He
knew carbon tax was going to be the answer for.
Well,
he bet on every horse. You know,
he pretty much, he was the man. He used his celebrity power to really push out with what was the document? What was it? Inconvenient Truth.
Inconvenient Truth. And frankly, like I've spent ages, and you know. With all my analytical powers, I can't
discern whether it's true.
I can't discern whether it's true or not. You know, this is why I say fine precautionary principle. But I see, you know,
either way, they're not dealing with it right.
They're dealing with it so wrong. I just see all these good intentioned people, you know, proposing solutions which are made by corporations that want to milk everything. Not just corporations that want to, extract billions out of us.
Yeah.
But, the whole world government thing, right? Now, you have these banks that essentially rob every single country on planet Earth. And they're afraid of national sovereignty, as you would, because, if people realize that these financial institutions are robbing them, then they may say to the government, we're just closing down your JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, everything else. So they were always pushing for these international institutions that govern everything. So, bankers always supported the UN, the World Bank, the IMF, the International Bank for Settlements, BCCI. And you have these, they call them the globalists. Now, I don't think that there is some grand conspiracy that they want to rule the world, but they just feel like, you know what, nations are small and they may just realize they're getting fucked by us. Yeah. And they might act. So we need to have something
to stay on top of the pile.
Above nations that controls all nations, that we control. Yeah. And so we can keep, the 1% can keep the 90% share of global resources. Yes. It's just a practical thing. Yeah. And it's those same people that go, oh, the globe is warming. Yeah, we could totally use this. Yeah. So we can create these giant institutions that gather money from all around the world, and then we decide, who gets resources. So essentially, it's a power play. Yeah. For these global bureaucrats that are paid for by the bankers. And I mean, I've heard much of the carbon taxes, the plans that the carbon taxes should be collected by the IMF and the World Bank, and then redistributed into these growth. Yeah, right. So you have these, IMF, World Bank, Rothschild Bank, Goldman Sachs. You've got like these institutions with a track record of absolutely destroying life and humanity at every step.
Oh my God.
Lining up to be the solution to the global warming problem. And you've got the hippies in the streets going, put a price on fucking carbon! And it makes me mad,
I never thought of that. Like, I've never really gone, well, carbon tax, if we didn't have a carbon tax, then what the fuck are we going to do? I always knew the solution is just solar panels. Like, in 8 minutes... more energy from solar falls on the earth than what the world uses in a whole year. So, I mean, if we harness a little bit of that energy, then we will be okay.
We'll be more than okay.
We'll be more than okay.
And the carbon tax would, it definitely has reasons why they think it would work. I mean, perhaps they just need to have a lower amount of carbon points to be able to be purchased to start with, and so that everyone actually has to.
It's also a bit trading debt. Do you understand how it works? Like, in the stock market, then you can trade the
no,
tax.
I understand that, but overall there are
trading debt through banks.
I get that, but there's an overall amount of emissions available to be purchased. If they lower that, then that will solve the problem if it actually gets adhered to. Right?
See, well, not necessarily, right? Because here's the thing, it'll just extract money out of the economy. It'll reduce the emissions, but it won't reduce them all that much. Because if say your electricity now costs 25% more, is your bill gonna stay the same? No, you're gonna maybe use 10% less electricity, but you'll be doing a small reduction in electricity, but they'll be getting a massive cut out of it. And you have these. I mean, what is the function of financial services and financial institutions? Their function is to extract money out of transactions.
Absolutely.
So I want to invest in something. Some guy comes between me and that investment and takes a cut. Yeah. And another guy comes in between, and it's just literally coming in between the buyers and sellers. Yeah. And taking a cut.
Yeah. That's so much of the problem is the massive gap between the buyer and the producer, and that's with everything.
So it's literally a money sucking, money spinning scam. I mean, carbon trading especially, carbon tax. See, if we got a carbon tax and they go, well, the government's gonna take in, 14 billion a year or some number. I don't actually know what the expectation is, because they're gonna gradually increase it. I don't imagine the number it's gonna be that big at the beginning. But see, if all that money, if 100% of that money went into research